Yo, what it do, Raven? What's good? What's up, Mac? Yo, 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 Danny, Darian, Theme. Let's go, 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 let's go. We gotta try out something weird. I was just shown. Why? We gotta try out something weird. I was just shown. Why am I so small? There we go. Now I'm bigger. We gotta try out something weird. I was just shown. Going to make a spark build. What is spark? I got a Google Pixel Pro and I hate it. Don't trust that other Patrick. What up, Trev? Where do I get these bops from? These are from... How was this person doing? Okay. How did they do this thing? Oh, interesting. Oh, going off stream doesn't do it. Huh. Do I need to have all 5? Like the Pixel? It's just very slightly smaller than my previous one. What up, Eastfun? Oh. Oh. Ho, 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 ho. Oh ho 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 ho. Oh ho 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 ho. Hello? Hello, game? Hello, game? Well, that's a fun bug. I have Cosmic Anomaly set to Iron Maiden with Floaty Bobble, and I accidentally teleported into town, and now it has stuck me in town. So that's cool. Oh, I can't teleport. Oh, won't let me do anything. Okay, well, let's leave. Let's see if that solves it. Hold on. All right, cool. That's fun. But yeah, so don't teleport into town with Floaty Bubble. Although I am gonna go explore everywhere I can now teleport into. Interesting. Hold on, I just gotta go report that real quick. Okay. Okay. So this thing that I'm about to look at was already reported and has been a thing. So I did not know this thing. Oh, so, okay. So I have to like get very far away from them, basically. Oh, how do I do this thing? Huh. If one all appliances, they all talk to me. Interesting. God damn, stop going into town! Aren't there only like 3 builds in this game? No, you might be thinking of a different video game. There are dozens of builds in this game. Did you have any like genuine questions about Diablo 4? Is there anything that I could educate you on? The phrasing and the implied tone indicates to me that you may not be a big fan of it, and you are somehow confused as to how you ended up on my stream. How did this guy do it? All right, hold on. There's a dude who was like infinitely teleporting, and I want to understand how they were doing it. So they have Bakja. Yeah, it's like an anomaly. They have an anomaly that hasn't hit yet. You have to like somehow get away from your anomalies. Oh, see, sometimes it runs out. Now, before anybody gets incredibly impressed with the thing that you're looking at here, and this is not shitting on this person, they're not actually killing anything. They're just teleporting very far away. So the first question is, how do you activate this? And the second question is, can you make it actually do stuff? Do you know if there's a resource somewhere with minion attack speed breakpoints? CTOD posted breakpoints on...
Any chance you're going to try a decompose build? Smiley face. I wonder if it would be
posted
viable.
A while ago.
I know it's Chanel's skill.
I don't think it's for all of them. Samara, thank you very much for the 1 year. Thank you for the anniversary sub. I appreciate that. Any chance you're gonna try decompose? I'm not going to. It's very bad. There's nothing to do with it, and it doesn't work with pain gorgers, so it's just bad. It's bad even in comparison to other basic skills, sadly. And I don't mean like bad in the way I typically say, which is to protect people from wasting their time with the thing. I mean, it like legitimately does not have scalability to a meaningful degree where it would ever have a use case. So they're on a minion build. And they've basically gotten away from the anomaly, is what is happening. I just don't know what that means. Oh. I figured it out. I figured it out immediately. God damn it, I got stuck in fucking fuck. Yeah, so it's when the anomaly is going to come to, you have to teleport so it loses tracking of you, and then you can teleport infinitely. Okay. We go like here. So here's the idea. Oh, I forgot this is like the worst city to go to. All right, so here's the idea. So you eat this, right? Bada bing, bada boom. As the next one is coming, you teleport to lose it. Hold on. How do I make this consistent? Close. You have to like lose it before it comes to you. What's the timer on this? 5 seconds. Oh, hey, no, get back here. Oh my God, playing. Playing on mouse and keyboard is weird. I did it like immediately, and now I just can't. There we go. Any speed farm build able to... A speed farm build to do 100 would be like minions. Typically when we say speed farm build, we mean a build that goes incredibly fast and like doesn't click a lot of buttons. And going very fast, not having to click a lot of buttons and be able to do pit tier 100 on the Necromancer just isn't a combination of things. But you can run a tier 100 very fast on a minion build. So like any of our builds, Shadow Blight minions or Blood Wave would all do tier 100 very quickly. It's like so close to being consistent. Would you need on pit 100 to be considered a viable speed farming build? 2 minutes. And that's slow, but it's pretty fast for Necromancer. So what if what I do is I do this, and then keep going. Oh no, because all 5 of them go. How do infinitely? So you can basically teleport for as long as the anomaly can't get to what you've clicked on, is basically the thing here. Do I need anything else? I do think that these closed off areas are going to get me fucked more often than they're going to help me though. Right. What up, Rick? Alright. Let's go get our little cash. Try to figure this out. No. Yeah, I forgot you have to like pick up seeds. Roderick Arcana that stops him from exploding on cast, give you more uptime. Stop them from exploding on. Oh, the ones that say like chance to not explode. Well. Okay. Well then. Well then, you can't stop, but you can do this. Oh, it finally caught up to me. Huh. Well. Well then. Well then. Well then. Time to explore this a little bit more. Because all I did was like walk up and fight the bad guy. I walked up and I did a big fight on him.
I'll keep my forge hot. Return soon.
Yeah, it's like, how do I do this consistently? We'll figure it out. So, saw our YouTube video showing off this, and I did not discover this. I'll link to their original video as well. I want to make sure that they get the recognition for this that they should. And I just don't happen to personally know them, or I would be remembering their name. But this is infinitely teleporting on a Necromancer. Now, this is something that was actually understood to be an issue. There we go, we got it again. This is something that was understood to be an issue, most notably on the Sorceress. Very early on in the season, this was actually reported. But there's a very interesting combination of effects here, which is making this a possibility. And the reason why it's not consistent is because it kind of deals with your actual relationship in space to the new ability. Let me go ahead and turn off Wudijo's awesome music now that I don't have one going. So let's go ahead and talk about whatever this thing is, because it's pretty silly. The major issue being that you can't really stop to pick up stuff, so you have to only be farming in places where you can have your pet automatically pick up things. Because you can go infinite on it, like you can see, it's just not very consistent. Oh, let me go. And I thought I'd come up with a pretty surefire way of doing it that involved teleport from the Jaw rune as well. But that didn't happen to be the case. But yeah, so you can see, basically it depends on the position of the cosmic anomalies as they spawn around you. And then because the game doesn't recognize that the cosmic anomaly is gone, it believes that you still have the ability to do this. So it continuously does it until it like remembers that you and your cosmic anomalies have a positional relationship, as far as I can tell. And if you could just get far enough away quick enough where it will forget that you had a cosmic anomaly in the first place, you can kind of go infinite. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get it right. But I've been yapping now for a little bit, so what is the exact thing that I'm talking about? Let me get back into town. We'll talk about it. Oh, look at that. I went infinite on it. Interesting. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So the combination is Cosmic Anomaly and Floaty Bauble. Floaty Bauble says that your Catalyst now gets this blink ability. And it blinks you to the implosion point of the cosmic anomaly. So if I don't try to go infinite on it, if I don't just try to spam it continuously, I will get a cosmic anomaly. These spawn once every 5 seconds. Here's mine. And when I shoot here, you'll see the cosmic anomaly goes there and explodes. Now, even without getting too crazy, you'll notice that I can actually blink a couple times until the cosmic anomaly would have exploded where I wanted it to. And they travel pretty quickly. So, oh, that one's coming from this direction. You'll see it exploded back there. So that's basically all that's really happening. It's allowing you to continuously trigger this until you don't have an anomaly anymore, because the requirement for being able to do it is in having an anomaly in the first place. And then it will, oh, we went infinite on it. But I think basically because we can get far enough away from our anomalies to unload the ones that got shot out. Basically, they're like no longer held in the memory of the game because they're too far away. I think this is how it's working. That they never explode. And if they never explode, you never lost them. And if you never lost them, then you can continue to teleport. And even though new ones show up, it's still trying to rationalize whether or not the first ones exist, is what I basically think is occurring. They're able to teleport infinitely on it. I noticed that if I like try to slow down for a little bit too long, like maybe I can just stand in one spot for a little bit here. Hold on. No, I think that since I unloaded those original ones, I am now infinite as long as I don't re-enter the area that they were in. Now, the only issue here is that there aren't too many like big places that you can go. Hold on, let me randomly apply vulnerable to this guy. Yeah, kill him by teleporting. But if I stop to cast any other skill, this goes away. So obviously, you would need to have a Necromancer build that can do damage with curses without being able to click any of its other skills. That could hopefully be activated by stuff. Now we can add in a couple other rune words that would allow us to kind of touch on this and engage with this a little bit more. And if I were to change up my build just a little bit, I think I can make this a bit better. But you just noticed, if you follow my YouTube channel, I just posted my Speedstorm Necromancer build, which is meant to be doing tier 65 in under 2 minutes. I actually did a 1 minute 37 on that setup. If you want to check that out, I'll link that below as well. But the question might be, well, how do you incorporate this? Well, now that we know that we have this, and we understand the primary little mechanism of it, and the fact that it is absolutely a bug, it's a funny bug, and this has been reported to the developers as well, although I think if I put out a video on it, it's going to get a little bit more attention, but what can you do? Let's go ahead and talk about what you can do with this thing. And we'll use it more so as an opportunity to talk about automation in skills on the Necromancer. I think would actually be a really good application of this nonsense. So it's not just, hey, go do this exploit, but more so, let's talk about how damage works on the Necro, how you can trigger things, and what you can do with it. So this is just really, really fun. I'm just gonna enjoy doing this for like another quick second. Look at me. I am the sorceress now. You do have to hold down the button the entire time, which is a lot. It's kind of crazy. So stupid. I like it though. It's very funny. Enough playing. Let's go ahead and talk. Look at it. Look at it go. Look at it. Whatever it's doing. Watch it do it. All right, let's get back into town. Oh, I saw a goblin. Hold on. Boop, boop, boop. Oh yeah, get the goblin. Get over here, goblin. Got him. You want to talk about a good? Oh, actually. Oh, and it broke. Perfect timing. It broke. All right, let's get back into town, so I can get out of here, and we'll go ahead and go over to. Oh God, there's another goblin. Hold on. I don't normally play on mouse and keyboard. Oh, this also just like doesn't work on controller, which is upsetting. But oh, goblins though. Hell yeah. Dude, I gotta say, the goblin event, very fun. Oh, hold on. Yeah. This is a really good use case of it, goblin farming. So again, the combination is in Cosmic Anomaly and Floaty Bauble. Basically everything else kind of doesn't matter. But you aren't actually going to be doing damage with the Cosmic Anomaly, at least not the initial ones. So you would have to find a way to be able to do damage without that. Now, luckily, we have a couple different ways of being able to accomplish this, most notably through the Affliction effect here, which says that your curse skills are going to deal a very large amount of damage. Well, it's a decent amount of damage. But a very large amount of damage when they trigger on a character who is crowd controlled, undergoing corrupting damage, so damage over time from a shadow source, or they are vulnerable. So we would have to find a way, be able to make it so that targets are vulnerable when these effects occur, or they are crowd controlled, or they are affected by damage over time. Now, obviously we have the Cursed Aura aspect. Cursed Aura aspect will automatically apply Decrepify and Iron Maiden. Decrepify will slow targets, meaning that these targets will at least be crowd controlled. So Affliction will now trigger on them. But sadly, this effect, this teleporting effect, doesn't do a ton of damage, and Iron Maiden itself has absolutely trash lucky hit chance. So you would need a way to be able to apply vulnerable that we don't have to click another skill for to be able to actually get this thing going. Now, we can have lucky hit chance to be able to apply vulnerable on a ring. It's probably going to be one of your best places. But again, Iron Maiden's lucky hit chance is absolutely trash city. So how would we trigger this? Well, we probably want to go grab Ring of Sacrilegious Soul, of all things, and maybe, just maybe, a Black River. So we'll go get our Howl from Below package. We will get our Black River package. We'll grab our secondary piece to Black River. And we'll grab a Ring of Sacrilegious Soul, something I never really thought I was going to have to say. Do I even have one? I don't. I don't have one? All right. Please hold.
What's left, you ask?
Ugh. Push. Hola, Grumpy. ¿Cómo estás? Need a better ring than that. Renamed your Bonestorm build to Biostorm. I like that. Give me a ring. Shade mist on minions. I was thinking about your minions take a while to like load, basically. So I don't think they would be applying it very quickly, but it was something that I considered. Give me a ring. Anybody have a ring of sacrilegious soul with the 1 second roll on it? So I don't have to do this. It does not need to be a good one, it just needs to be 1 second.
Excellent fight.
Oh! Motherless. .4. Ugh. Why do I always ask for things while you're at work? That's such a great question. Why are you always working while I'm streaming? Huh? Pretty inconsiderate if you think about it. I'm playing. I'm gonna put the music back on. A Lum Rune. Alright, we're actually gonna do this whole re-recording over so I can just have everything together. The entertainment get you through the day? Alright, touche. Touche. You know what? Touche, I say. Can I have a... Oh, I got one. Alright, good enough. Oh, I have, I turned this off. Hold on. If you evade port I understand your question. There is a misunderstanding, though. This is... You would not be able to do this in Blood Mist. What is Speedstorm? It is the build video I had just put out, actually. Hold on. They removed that aspect. But also, this is not evading. We are not evading to accomplish this thing. This has nothing to do with evade. But yes, they also removed that aspect because it was broken. Ja is not required. No, I originally thought that you would have to evade to lose the anomaly to start this, but it doesn't appear as if that is the case. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, I currently have more viewers on YouTube, which might be a first. That's pretty cool. But if you're watching on YouTube and you could click the like button, that would be huge. Thank you. This is just from Floaty Bobble, yeah. Bobble. Rumdrim. Thanks. Oh yeah. Appreciate you. Hola, Peter. No, you're good.
Use it well.
Thanks, John. This only work for Iron Maiden. Does it work for Corpse Explosion too? This only works for Iron Maiden. Well, I don't know jack shit. Actually. Don't ask me that question. I don't know. No, you're watching me discover this in real time. How does Ring of Starless not work with this build since it has plus to core? Question. How does Ring of Starless not work with this build? The question is coming from a context where that is a true statement and that I must defend it, but I neither know what build we're referring to nor why we're talking about it. So if I could have context, that would be helpful. What up, Blood? You don't think that corpses will do? Assuming that you're playing the minion build. I am not playing the minion build, but on a minion build, we do not do damage with a core skill. So having ranks to core skills doesn't make sense. You would not want that because that would not accomplish anything. Then why Perdition over Shaco? Well, Shaco similarly doesn't do anything. It gives ranks to skills, which doesn't do anything. But Perdition says 60% damage multiplier. It has absolutely nothing to do with the core skills on it. It says lucky hit chance, crit chance, movement speed, and 60% damage multiplier. Shaco says cooldown reduction. And that's kind of it. So why would I use a helmet that does not multiply my damage when there's a helmet which does multiply my damage? Would be the question that you should be asking. Also, if you are not aware, the +4 ranks to skills on Shaco doesn't empower any of our skills at all, because it doesn't apply to passive skills. And the only skills in your skill tree that give you damage on a minion build are all passive skills. What did it do, Duelist? Thank you for the follow. And Legend Goku, thank you for the follow as well. Welcome to us doing a very silly thing. Excuse me. Okay. Oh. Can I help you power level a character? I cannot. I'm currently doing something, and I don't offer power leveling services. I tend to have a thing that I'm attempting to accomplish in a stream. That is the entertainment that I'm offering to the people watching. So stopping it to do services is not really a thing that I do. Yo, what up, Yano?
My
How are we doing? Thank you very much for the
streamer.
8 months.
Smiley face.
All right, we've got to get it going. Oh, almost. Almost. Oh, I needed ultimate shadow on my bone storm. Oh. Very, very, very finicky. Came out of my car situation. It got fixed. It just cost a lot of money. Ugh. There we go. Oh no. There we go. Now we're going. I've found that it helps to like try to go over things. It doesn't like that. There we go. God damn it. Dude, getting stuck on anything immediately ruins it. How do I get you consistent? What up, Yongsoid? Wait, why did this... The health pad's gone. Do I need more attack speed? Like, am I not getting far enough away? That might be a thing. What up, Daddy? It's just areas like this just kind of suck for it. It's kind of the issue I'm running into. How cool is Iron Maiden? This isn't really Iron Maiden doing anything. I would say that Iron Maiden generally is like a pretty upsettingly weak skill. There we go. Welcome to the speed, Necro. Welcome to real speed. You wanna fuck it? You wanna never see anything you're killing? There we go. Welcome. Oh, it's nauseating. Welcome to the Necromancer. Now you can't stop to click anything. But this is the Necromancer now. Oh no! Oh no! It broke. Look, sometimes it breaks. Hell yeah. Get all these ovals. Welcome to the ultimate goblin farming build on the Necromancer. You can really only do this in open world content. And it's generally bad at it. But you can do it. And that's gotta count for something. All right. So now that we had that going for far too long, let's talk about it. The stupid ways that I've tried to come up with making it do anything at all. The fact that this is a bug and will absolutely get fixed. And just kind of like, I don't know, some weird, cool interactions that are in the game. I did not discover this. Somebody else has discovered this, so I want to give them proper credit for this. And it's actually something that had been reported all the way back at the beginning of this season. It was just most notably easy to break it on the Sorceress. But hilariously enough, the Sorceress didn't need this. So I'm going to turn off Woody Joe's playlist. We're going to go back into town. We're going to talk about the interaction. We're going to talk about, basically use this as an opportunity to be able to teach you about systems, how those systems work, why those systems are generally weak, but ways in which you can build into them so that they are strong, and kind of use all of this as an advertisement for the fact that I put out a legitimate speed farming build just today. I'll link that down in the description below. That is not a bug. That's not going anywhere. That you can legitimately go be speed farming tier 65 pit in under 2 minutes. I actually did a 1 minute and 37-second run. So let's hop into town so we don't get attacked, and let's talk about it. Is there a way to tell if aspects with stacking multipliers stack additively or multiplicatively? You should always assume that if a thing says it stacks up, it is according to the verbiage of the aspect and then in-game testing. There isn't some cheat sheet, basically. Typically, they're all additive, except for some, except for exceptions, like Lidless Wall. Each one grants you a 20% damage multiplier. Which it says that, but they are all separate multipliers. So again, I want to give credit where credit is due. Winzik posted this video 2 days ago about the fastest necro in the world. And if you were to watch their video, you're seeing a lot of the exact same tech. Now, it looks like this is more so a proof of concept, because if you watch the video, they're not really killing anything. you'll notice that the Aether here or whatever, it doesn't really go up until they stop and spin in a circle. So while this is very, very visually impressive, all of this is very visually impressive, it's not really doing altogether that much. So that's why we're going to use this as an opportunity to learn about automated systems on the Necromancer, how they interact, and ways that you can build into them. But like I said, I want to give credit where credit's due because I did not discover this. But going back and checking through the bugs which have been logged with Blizzard, I was able to see that this has actually already been reported. But again, it was something that was much easier to break on the Sorceress. And it comes down to how basically your cosmic anomalies are interacting with Floaty Bobble. So for people who want to know the mechanic of it, I'm about to get a little bit nerdy. And a lot of this is kind of speculation because I can't see under the hood, but just based off of how this is working and the experience that I have with it, this is what I think is occurring. Floaty Bobble says that it will blink you to the implosion site of your cosmic anomaly. Cosmic anomaly says that you will spawn an anomaly every 5 seconds, and when you activate your anomaly by casting your skill, we're using Iron Maiden here, but when you activate your anomaly, it's going to fly to that position and explode. And as long as you have an anomaly still, you can continuously teleport with Floaty Bobble. So even if you don't go infinite on this, you'll see that I can teleport like 2 to 3 times with Floaty Bobble because the anomaly just hasn't exploded yet. So I'm going to go into the open world. We're going to wait for us to have an anomaly. And then we're going to teleport like 3 times, and you'll notice that we stop teleporting. Why? Because the floating anomaly has exploded behind us, and then we can't do it again until we start having another floating anomaly. And you'll notice that the floating anomalies will spawn in with a velocity, and they have a point of origin that appears to be random within 1 screen of you. Now, what I believe is occurring, I started going infinite, but I didn't go far enough. But what I believe is occurring is because the functionality says that I can continue to teleport until I don't have any anomalies. Also, if you teleport into range of this city, you get stuck here forever, but that's okay. I don't really need to go anywhere. But until you don't have any cosmic anomalies, you can continuously teleport with Floaty Bubble by reactivating it. The moment that they explode, this is no longer the case. But you can also teleport far enough away where I think that the game unloads the original anomaly. So it's set to explode. It's trying to do that, but you have unloaded it. This is something that we see a lot where monsters lose aggro in the pit. You'll notice that they reset. They kind of get stuck where you left them. And then once you bring back into range to be able to load them into like the active memory of the game, as opposed to just this little holding cell memory of the game, they will reactivate and they'll all try to break their leash and run away. I think a similar thing is occurring with Cosmic Anomaly, where it's being held in like a temporary memory, like an unloaded state, because you have moved too far away from it. This is something that we actually abuse all the time in Diablo 2 to do very weird things like changing the amount of items that a monster is going to drop. And it was also like the cause of a big bug back in Diablo 2 that stopped me from being able to complete a Hell Sorceress pacifist run. I actually have a video if you're ever interested in checking that out. I was actually the first person to ever do that. But that's a whole long tangent. Needless to say, I think that we are unloading the Cosmic Anomaly. Because it's unloaded, it exists, which means we have an anomaly. And since we have an anomaly, we can continue to teleport. You'll notice as we're teleporting that we're spawning other anomalies and they're exploding. But for whatever reason, this doesn't stop us from teleporting. So we must still have an anomaly somewhere in this weird unloaded state. So that's all well and good. And we can teleport with it, which is great. But if we're not really exploding any anomalies, we can't really do damage with this effect. So while it looks impressive, it's not really doing anything other than maybe giving you some motion sickness. It doesn't really work well in areas where you would get stopped by the surrounding area. So like if you hit a wall and your anomalies catch up to you, this tends to stop it as well. So it only really works in the open world. Luckily, though, the open world is where monsters are their weakest. So how do we abuse this? Or rather, how do we use systems in this game to be able to do damage when we can't click any other buttons? Because the moment that we let go of Iron Maiden, we stop teleporting. Well, that's where things like our Affliction Key passive, and then Ring of Sacrilegious Soul, Howl from Below, and Black River come from. Because Affliction Key passive says that your curse skills are going to do a megaton of damage against a target when you apply the curse to them. But the target needs to be vulnerable, have crowd control applied to them, or be under the effects of damage over time. If they are, they take a damage multiplier, and then when you would curse them, it will do shadow damage to them. Well, that's all well and good. We'll just apply vulnerable. We're really, really good at applying vulnerable. Well, we typically do. Through things like Soul Rift, we're able to apply vulnerable. The issue being that Soul Rift will run out. And not only that, we can't stop to cast other skills while we're doing this. So what do? Well, we have to find different ways of applying vulnerable. One of the ways is through lucky hit chance to be able to apply vulnerable. This will take a couple seconds to proc every once in a while, but if you have a decent lucky hit chance effect, this will go off without a hitch. Now the issue is that Iron Maiden does have a lucky hit chance. It's just that it's 10%. So 10% multiplied by our 89% over here is a whopping less than 9% chance to be able to apply vulnerable. So sadly, Iron Maiden isn't actually going to trigger any of the 3 requirements of Affliction by itself. We have to find some other way of doing that. Well, luckily, we do have the Cursed Aura aspect on our boots. And why does that one matter? Well, Cursed Aura is going to apply Decrepify. Decrepify automatically applies Slow to a target. Slow is a crowd control. Now, all of a sudden, while we couldn't necessarily apply Vulnerable very well, we can crowd control the targets, which is great. But that's not really good enough, because it turns out on the Necromancer, in addition to critical strike chance, most of our damage and most of our multipliers come from the vulnerable status. Book of the Dead has a sacrifice that says vulnerable damage or vulnerable targets are going to take 36% more damage. Not only that, vulnerable targets already take an additional 20% damage, and kind of for free, we get a bunch of vulnerable additive damage in our Paragon board. So we still want to be able to get this vulnerable proc up onto the target because it's going to more than double the amount of damage that we're doing to them. But how do we do that if we don't have any really good skills? Corpse Explosion doesn't have a great lucky hit chance, but has a significantly better lucky hit chance than Iron Maiden does. But again, we can't stop to cast skills. If I could cast skills, I could apply a vulnerable as much as I wanted to. But luckily, Ring of Sacrilegious Soul is going to automatically cast Corpse Explosion for us. And the cool part about it automatically casting Corpse Explosion for us is that we can actually get a really high damage Corpse Explosion effect here. And not only that, Corpse Explosion can be a damage over time effect. And because it's a damage over time effect, that means that not only is it like going to benefit from all these shadow damage scalars, now it's a darkness skill, but Affliction also requires the target to be crowd controlled. So let's say we just, for whatever reason, didn't get within range to be able to apply Decrepify and Slow. At least now they're taking damage over time, which again is activating Affliction in the first place. But in addition to that, the Corpse Explosion can be the tool that we use to be able to apply the vulnerable. Now here's the only issue with Black River and Ring of Sacrilegious Soul. This just casts Corpse Explosion. And sadly, the increased radius on Black River doesn't actually increase the radius of Blighted Corpse Explosion, the one that we have to use here. It just doesn't. Why? I don't know. It's always been like that. I've reported it a million times, and basically the devs told me like, yeah, that just doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, then maybe the tooltip should say it. But regardless, how do we make it so that these corpses actually get anywhere? Like actually make it to the targets and do damage? Well, that's where Howl from Below comes in. Because Howl from Below automates your Corpse Explosion in the way that even if a monster isn't next to the corpse will run to them. And now the corpse will detonate on them, doing the damage over time on top of them, basically making our corpses more effective, especially since we're not the one aiming it or casting it. There is one other really cool part about all of this, and it's just very specifically from the tag on Howl from Below, adding the summoning tag to Corpse Explosion as well. You'll see that has the summon tag here. But this will actually trigger Blood Moon Breaches, because Blood Moon Breaches says that your summons have a chance to be able to apply your curse to a target. And then a cursed target will take increased crit damage from you. which is very, very, very cool. The fact that even if you weren't within range, the ring automatically eating the corpse, which from Black River will eat all of the corpses simultaneously to get a huge damage multiplier, which will then run it over to the target, which will count as a summon, which will apply the curse, which is required not only to do damage to the target, which is just a nice little upside, but also for it to have the crowd controlled effect on it, be able to be applied by affliction in the first place, so you could actually do damage. Isn't that a cool little automated system? The major issue is that, sadly, automated systems are there as a quality of life, aspect of the game. They make your life easier. They don't necessarily make you do more damage. You basically are doing suboptimal damage the entire time, but you're doing it without having to click any buttons. And that's good enough for us, because we can't let go of Iron Maiden if we're trying to use this funky little functionality. But we can enjoy all of these benefits from it. Oh, and I was trying to make Lidless Wall work with this too, because Lidless Wall can have infinite Bone Storm duration, because it'll just permanently spawn new Bone Storms from Lucky Hit chance. And the idea is that the Bone Storm would be the thing applying the damage over time to targets, as well as applying more damage. But it just turned out I couldn't often get both of these things to line up where Bone Storm was up and I was already teleporting with Iron Maiden. But that dream kind of still exists too. It's out there somewhere, and maybe somebody can make it work. But yeah, if you see anybody out there talking about this, as it kind of percolates up throughout the gaming community at large, this is what is occurring. It's really not anything altogether like that exciting. It looks super duper cool. It's pretty inefficient for most things, but if you're really dead set on making it into something that was more interesting, the affliction route is the way to go. And I will just assume that something like this will probably get patched by the developers pretty quickly. Most notably because we actually already had this in the PTR as a speed farming setup. You basically went infinite, not just with Floaty Bobble here, but also with the Execute. Because the Execute, if you were using this with Propulsion, actually, the Execute used to say that it would reset your cooldown on Propulsion, allowing you to do it again. And they didn't like the fact that everybody was basically a sorceress because, I don't know, they don't want the Necromancer to ever have fun. But they swapped this one over to successful executions will just grant you movement speed, which is kind of like teleporting infinitely, in a sense that it moves you faster, but nobody would ever argue that these two things are actually equal to each other. Also, I just got Rahir support because somebody's killing stuff near me. That's funny. But yeah, that's why I assume it's going to get fixed fairly quickly, because this was a thing that we actually already had, and this is now basically like the Temu version of it. So that's it. I just wanted to educate y'all in case you saw it, or in case you just saw my Speedstorm build and you're like, Mac, why aren't you doing the strictly faster thing? It's because it just doesn't really work in the pit in any meaningful way. You have to be able to kill stuff that would die to like a couple suboptimal affliction procs. But there you go. Thank you very much for watching this video. I truly, truly hope it helped you to better enjoy it while it lasts, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right. Well, we figured it out pretty quickly. And we did it. The only thing that might be a little bit more interesting is if we try it like this. So let's go ahead and... All right. Okay. Let's try it this way with like big corpse explosion. Teleport boy. And we get to put the music back on. Couldn't generate blood orbs, or you could do blood artisans curious. You technically could, right? You could put corpse tendrils back on your bar, have that generate blood orbs. but your bones, you'd be gone before you ever saw a bone spirit hit anything. You can technically do it. No, affliction is if the target is vulnerable, crowd controlled, or corrupted, they are afflicted. So 1 of 3, correct. I need to like get away. You could use Murdercrux too. Like in the sense that you could equip any item, sure. Let me infinitely teleport. I'm infinite teleport. The consumption would make them? Sure, and then 20 seconds later they would explode. Let me infinitely teleport. Almost. I'm getting closer. I can almost feel the power. Ha 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 ha. Now your boy's zooming. Oh no. Zoom, 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 zoom. There we go. And now leave and never look back. What up, Vanilla? Leave and never return. Like, the issue is my actual speed build would have already just killed all this. Leave and never return. Yeah. Can I go back? No, I'm just stuck in my little hole. This is not propulsion, no. This is anomaly. This is a bug. Is this a vampire build? Yes, this is the vampire build. Did we test Corpse Explosion as the catalytic skill? Corpse Explosion doesn't work as a catalytic skill unless you can consume a corpse. I don't know if that works this way. Like, let me see. That's interesting. It like didn't work with Disintegrate. Oh, hold on. Is this a property of Floaty Bobble, maybe? Oh. Huh. Well, there are corpses to eat there. Hold on. Huh. Maybe, oh, well, hold on. I've been thinking of Ray's skeleton this entire time. Okay, cool. Let's try it. Oh, goodbye. Probably put floaty bobble on. Oh, that's what's occurring. It like has to physically get to where you activate it to. Huh. Let me go. Let me tear. Let me rip and tear. Ugh. It's like almost. Can you activate the evade in the corpse explosion? You cannot. The moment that you stop, it stops. This does not have a build guide yet, Synergy. I'm probably also not going to make a build guide for it. This is strictly a bug. Oh, hold on. To go do some damage. Guess I should go knock my chest as well. This is bugged? Oh, this is super bugged, yeah. This is not supposed to be doing this. Yeah, so the Necromancer's not supposed to do this. Floaty Bobble has some bugs? It does, yes. Yeah, this is not intentional. When did we become a sorceress? When somebody posted about this 2 days ago, and then I learned about it today. One day I'll kill this thing. You monster! Can't do this event. All right. Oh, blood surge. We could try it. Why not? Mr. Ja, thank you for the follow. This.
What's left, you ask?
Excuse me.
That's the spirit. Give it a go. Well, hello, shiny.
Remember when we had to gamble boots back in season 3? That just like popped back into my head with a vicious memory. What was I looking for? Exploiters? I think it was exploiters. You wanted to try core, is this? And then I need to deal with the fact that it's going to cost too much. See, the issue with Blood Surge is you need to be able to generate resources. Let's see if it even works with Blood Surge before I try to do anything. So, Fallen Saint, thank you very much for the new sub. Welcome on in.
You subscribe to a bad content creator.
Enjoy your emotes, enjoy your no
A
ads.
real one.
No, it's got to be a melee skill. Yeah, it just doesn't do anything. Oh. All right. All right. What else? What else could we possibly do? I saw you doing YouTube. Hey, thanks, friend. Just got to hey. You know, they say the couple that games together and slays together stays together. Bone Spirit. Bone Spirit needs to hit a target for its cooldown to reset. That wouldn't happen fast enough. Is there anything else weird to do with this thing? Does this thing just let me teleport for 11 seconds? Would have said couple are noobs and get slain. Getting slain is part of gaming. Lame. Yeah, so it's just with the interaction of Anomaly having a summon. Okay.
Wouldn't have made it without you.
And here I go. Kill it again. Oh, a silent chest. What's the lowest we can make Sever's cooldown? Like 1.5 seconds or something like that. So as long as you're killing stuff that dies in a single cast of Sever. It's kind of an option. Is it even possible? It's possible. Its damage is just trash. Because a Bone Spirit that only does 2x its damage rather than 11 times its damage is just not a particularly good Bone Spirit. Also, they can't overpower. You might ask questions like, well, what if you had like tons of them? You can cast Bone Spirit 3 times per second. So it's just like, it's worse than just scaling Bone Spirit's damage. Flying around so much? A bug. This is Anomaly and Floaty Bobble. But 'tis a bug. Goodbye, everybody. I'm off to see my homeland. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, a goblin. Oh, interesting. But then when it stops. You can kind of cast things in between it. That seems to have a high tendency to break it. Auto clicker or scroll wheel work for this? I don't explore things which can be against terms of service. So I will never have that information for you. Remember that according to terms of service, a macro can only ever be a one-button input gets a one-button output. Instant transmission? This is like instant transmission on crack. Assigning a button to the scroll wheel? No. It is not what I said. What is this? It's a bug with floaty bobble and anomalies. Oh, the Necro isn't supposed to. This is a bug. This is not a thing that is meant to be occurring in the game. This is a weird bug that deals with the fact that the anomalies aren't considered to have been exploded, so you can continue to cast the teleport part of Floaty Bobble. Stupid. Hello? It is fun. It's also nauseating. It also kind of doesn't really do anything. It just moves very quickly. It doesn't really kill stuff. Like, this isn't like the Sorceress where you're teleporting at this speed and blowing up the entire screen. You can mesh it with Shadow Blight? Not particularly. The best application that we have is Affliction. Which is what we're using here. Give me these pants. Also, it really only seems to work on mouse and keyboard. Open World Addict, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome on in, everybody. To what I can only describe as the dumbest thing on the planet. Thank you very much. Hello, hello. Appreciate you coming through. Hope you had a great stream. Zoop, 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 zoop. At least there we go. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Hey, what's going on? Thank you very much for the raid. Welcome on in. Welcome to whatever this is. I'm doing all right. How about yourself? Nice. Can't like get it consistent anymore. It's weird. Alright. What else do we got? This season's been out a month. I think we have plumbed the depths. Hey, thank you very much for checking out the videos. I'm glad they help. Oh, there was something I wanted to look into. Which was the gizmo. We're already wearing that Yonkzoid. How often is this triggered? And it's very specifically physical damage. I need to turn off right here. Right here. Should just be like up at the top. I hope you brought your squeegee. Huh.
Did I count it out right?
I hope you brought your squeegees. Life's kiki. Oh, nice. No. Man, I wish the den that is supposed to have everything in it let me do everything. That'd be pretty chill. Like, why doesn't it have a jeweler? Why can't I gamble? Y'all ever wonder about that? Dens reborn. 3G amulet with nothing on it. Fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. How jealous are you? Look at all of you. Look at how jealous you all are. You wish you could be me. Yes, you can get mythics from gambling. Very low chance, but you can. And it doesn't matter what you gamble. How jealous are you? Look at this. Maximum resource. Damage. Movement speed. How jealous are you? Look at that thing. How jealous are you? You can be honest. We all know.
I'll watch your back.
Stop the flex. Officer end. Ring is nutty. Fuck.exe is not found. Powerful. I sold a 2 GA max int Hellbent Commander amulet to an in-game vendor because you already have one. But did you try to roll more perfect tempers on it? There's no way your tempers are perfect. Okay, back to what I was doing. Before I was so rudely interrupted by finding a ring named Officer End. The tempers would be negligible amount of increases, but they would be increases at all. The whole point of the game is negligible increases. Why is this curse? Oh, because there's summons. So incredibly infrequently. So incredibly low. Then what is this thing's purpose? Gonna see a new Fantastic Four movie? Nice. 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 Why did that one just do like 4 damage instances? I'm gonna see a Superman movie tomorrow. I'm excited about that. Man, Sharpening Gizmo sucks the moon out of the sky, huh? Because none of them really attack enough. Oh, do we want to try to make Iron Maiden the build a thing? No. I just heard myself say that. Remember when I made that Cursemancer because you could get plus to curse skills and then also plus to Iron Maiden on your helmet, and I had like 27 ranks to decrepify? What else do we got? One of the things I did want to think about with Sharpening Gizmo was just the fact that it doubled your Catalyst's lucky hit chance, and whether or not that was like good enough to run over one of the alternatives. Might be interesting. It will not, sadly. Like, just look at its damage coefficient. That doesn't, like, do anything. Which is the upsetting part. Like, its damage could be so much higher. It applies it once every 2 seconds. Like, what's the point of it having a damage coefficient and a lucky hit chance and an aspect that says it's now a darkness skill if its damage coefficient is 30%? You ever start cleaning something and now it's like, now you have to because you realize that it was dirty? I've cursed myself. I should see if Iron Maiden is a thing is when you start playing a different game. Yeah. Oh, you know what we could do? You know what we could spend some time doing today? Is we could make the State of the Necromancer. I don't really want to start a different game, and I don't want to start a different character. At least not today. Oh, you know what we could do? There was something that the Hearthstone player Trump HS used to do, or Trump SC, which was, I always thought was very, very cool. I always really liked this. So if y'all don't follow Trump, I actually got to meet Trump. This is not the president. I'm talking about Trump, the Hearthstone player, as in like the Trump card in a card game. I got to meet Trump at BlizzCon actually. He was a nice guy. I should have like engaged him more because there was like a couple like hotel lobby after parties where I saw him around and I was like, I could be becoming this guy's friend. And instead I was like, he's like a famous Hearthstone guy. I'm not gonna bug him. But the thing that like he would do, right, is a new set would come out and he would review it. And I do a very similar thing, but for the patch notes for a season. And then he would go back and review it again and like see how well he evaluated things. I wonder if we could do that. Hold on. Where's my... Hold on. Hold on. Hey everybody, we're gonna do something experimental right now. We're gonna do something very experimental right now, which is I don't know how this is gonna go. And we're just gonna mess around with it. I'm gonna go down here. Season 9 PTR analysis. Hold on. All right, so this was... And this is without... This is without the multipliers from the season. Right? Okay. We're gonna, well, hold on. I also need to check out Hell Tides. And go see where stuff ended up. What up, Terry? Bone Spear. Crazy Mage has done a tier 90. Oh, and it's Bone Spear Mages. Yeah, because we did a Bone Spear Mages build. Yeah, we did a tier 100 on it. Okay. We're going to watch this, and we're going to see how interesting it is to do this. The channel a whole bunch of times, you know the drill at this point. Welcome to my analysis of the Season 9 PTR balance patch. This is the patch that we're going to be looking at walking into Season 9. And I have tried to the best of my ability to just calculate what the expectation is for the power that we saw in the PTR versus what the power will look like walking into the actual season. Now, there's a lot of caveats to this, but just like always, I do not want to waste your time. So if all you want to know is my expected pit tier clear based off of the changes that are in these patch notes, here you go. If you wanted to get a very quick rundown, I actually included that in sheet 1. This is all going to be available down in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. So you can go ahead and check out this spreadsheet yourself. I did knock these out of the park as far as top build expectations. Bloodwave, Bloodwave Dot, Shadow Blight are our biggest, with mage minions right below it. And then for basic builds, things to look out for, I had Golem, which could clear 105 once they had buffed it. A basic skill build, which they've done 104 on Bone Spirit with Shadowed Spirit. And then Affliction. Affliction sadly didn't get enough scaling to like really matter. But you can bring it into Torment 4, and you can speed farm on it on low pit tier. So it's like kind of low column A, kind of a little column B. The key takeaways that I had were Overpower was nerfed to the point where you'd not have to hard force it on every build. That's accurate. Overpower nerfed, meaning additive damage may outscale core stat in certain circumstances. This is technically true. Basically, what you saw this season was some more additive damage was being put onto weapons. And then if you had a glove slot open, Lucky Hit Chance resource onto the gloves. Just because like attack speed and crit chance were nothing really changed with them. It's just very easy to cap them. So that point doesn't really, it's not wrong. It's just that basically if people were in the know, they could do that analysis and sometimes find that the additive damage in Paragon would outscale intelligence point to point. Blood Spear is fundamentally different now. We need to test if it even functions as a blood skill. It kind of really doesn't. You can force it. That was true, though. You can kind of force it, use Variana for healing, and then you just spam Bone Prison. You can kind of just run Bone Spear as a mage minion build, which actually, I don't think I ever put out my video on that, but I did clear Pit Tier 100 on mage minions with Bone Mage minions with Bone Spear, where you kind of don't cast it, they mostly cast it, but the big thing about it is that you basically use them as a pseudo Ring of Men down. The issue being that Cult Leader doesn't work for it. So your biggest damage multiplier doesn't apply to the Bone Spears when they cast them. And even so, is still able to do Pit Tier 100. So there is a functional Bone Spear build. And you can just cast Bone Spear itself. It's like a Pit Tier 90, I think is when we kind of got hard stuck on it when we tried it out ourselves. Which actually I think is in line with my calculations here. Bloodless Scream is still trash for any real builds endgame setup, but it's good enough that finding one early is a massive increase to damage output. So this is probably the thing I was the most wrong about, but hold on. It's not what you expect. Bloodless Scream does end up seeing use on very specifically Bloodwave And that is because it's just a high enough damage multiplier, honestly. The other thing that Bloodless Scream does do, because I did cover Bloodless Scream this season, is the fact that its lucky hit chance is actually bugged, and it scales off of your attack speed, which is just not something the Necromancer really used before. So it ends up being a fine weapon. The damage multiplier is high enough, especially on Sever, where you can get chance to deal double damage twice on boots, means that you don't need it on your weapon. Bloodless Scream is a fine item. I think it's in a place where it's good now. The major issue is that if you're really trying to use it for anything other than Blood Wave, you're trying to do the lucky hit proc, and the lucky hit proc is bugged. So that will inevitably get fixed, right? Like, that will get fixed at some point. But I was wrong. It's not just still trash. The Golem build did end up being a thing. It had to get buffed about a week or two into the season for it to be relevant. It ends up doing Pit Tier 105, which is 4 tiers below regular minions. It just doesn't feel good. It kind of suffers from all the same thing that minions does, but has less tools to be able to deal with stuff, and you're more tied to this cooldown. Not only that, most of our golems are bad, and you end up only being able to use the blood golem, which kind of stinks. Shadow Blight and Affliction builds will be competitive. This is half right, half wrong. Shadow Blight ends up being our strongest build. The only thing holding it back right now is a bug where the Gloom passive doesn't work for it. And Affliction just ended up not getting enough scaling. It doesn't really have aspects that work for it in a meaningful way. So that's why it's not really competitive. It's good for speed farming. It's fine for speed farming. Hand of Naz, Mage Minions will be top 3 build. This is actually exactly accurate because it goes currently Blood Wave, Shadow Blight, and then Minions. Technically, there's 2 Blood Waves, so it's technically top 4, but that's kind of funny. Change to Flesh Eater definitely felt very good. I don't think people are going to attribute as much to it as I thought that they might feel, but it definitely feels very, very good. Pit tier scaling is different now. This might mean that multiple tiers higher for performing builds. So this was also accurate. Walking out of the PTR, they had basically nerfed the scaling from pit tier 100, from 1 to 100, and it dropped down to only 20% scaling. After that, it's 28% scaling per pit tier. But what it basically means is that every build, depending on how powerful or how weak it was, gained about 3 to 4 pit tiers worth of additional clear, which is a very, very interesting thing. That's actually why my pit tier calculations in this video are going to be very slightly off and very underestimated, because we just didn't know what the scaling was going to be. There was no real way to know. Pain Gorgers. We did need to investigate basic skill builds. The only good basic skill build ended up being Bone Splinters, and even then, it's actually just a Bone Spirit build because it used Shattered Spirit. Now, I did make a regular Bone Splinters build, and that thing maybe tops out at like pit tier 90, maybe on perfect gear. I think we're able to do pit tier 85 on it. All of the other basic skills are just still very bad. Decompose doesn't work with Pain Gorgers. Reap already does AoE damage, so its ability to do more AoE damage is not particularly significant. Although Pain Gorgers does more than double your damage against a single target based off the way that it works. So it does help a little bit, but it's just kind of not great. And Hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is in a really weird place where you can make it overpower, but it then suffers from the Blood Surge, Blood Lance issue, which is that if it's not overpowering, it basically doesn't do damage. And if it's not doing damage, it doesn't matter that you're echoing out low damage values. Bone Spear Mages now inherit minion bonuses for damage, and I still think this means nothing, but it's worth investigating. So this is true. Bone Spear Mages do inherit your minion bonuses, and I kind of already touched on this, but there's a big bug holding back the actual Bone Spear that they cast because it doesn't benefit from Cult Leader. But Bone Spear Mages cleared pit tier 100. I did that myself. It's honestly a pretty cool build. Keeping them alive is not very hard. You just have to put a couple points into Bonded in Essence. And then as long as you're continuously eating corpses, which you just typically do in the normal rotation of a mage minion build in the first place, unless you're playing a lazy version of it, in which case you'll never be able to keep them up. But if you are, then it performs pretty decently well. It's basically the physical mage build as opposed to the shadow mage build, where you get to put Mendelm back on it, you get to scale all physical damage, and once Cult Leader works for the Bone Spears, it actually is just like even better than a regular Bone Spear build, which I think is pretty cool. So let me just see what Max said about all this.
On the key takeaways before I blabber on about all the different specifics.
We already touched on this, so we don't have to listen to the key takeaways.
Be able to add close to one-shotable by content, and your tier pretty, which was renovated, bug in the dirt, but
damn, I talk a lot.
Season. Both have given this a good key that you can build this so much better. Very small chast majorities per minute, or saying that a lot more builds.
Wow. Oh,
skill
I just have
timestamps.
Why am I doing
this? And they finally
manually?
fixed it so that your bone mages, when they cast Bone Spear, and I'm doing something a little bit different here because these numbers.
About top builds, we talked about new builds, nitty gritty details.
So again, there you go. If all you wanted to see was the exact numbers, you can
let's
pick out your
look
favorite
at
build here. Just keep in
our
mind that
pit
I don't
tier
think that
clears.
Overpower Bone Storm and Army of the Dead are legitimately builds that you should pilot this season. I have a huge bias against Army of the Dead. I've explained that a million times, but like, hey, what can you do? Sue me. But if that's all you wanted, just the quick rundown in these numbers right here, you can move on. Now, if you want to.
Okay. So now that we have the pit tiers here, let's go ahead and talk about them and see how close I was. So for Sever, the only thing for Sever that we really need to try to keep in mind here is that there is a difference between Sever and Shadow Blight. And it's a meaningful difference, and we're going to have to figure it out. But I think Grief on Sever, is this his Shadow Blight version of the build? I believe it is. So hold on. This is his Shadow Blight version, yeah. So the only caveat here, so technically speaking, you know, Sever cleared 107. This is a Shadow Blight build. This doesn't take away from his accomplishment. It has nothing to do with that. But it is a Shadow Blight build. It is not the best version of a Shadow Blight build. And Grief went on this spree of running everything as a Shadow Blight build, mostly because you can run your Catalytic skill now deals percentage weapon damage of your infusion type over 3 seconds. Every time that you hit something with your skill, it'll apply this, meaning that you can tick very quickly shadow damage against targets. What that ends up doing is increasing Shadow Blight. So here on your Sever build, you're running Blighted for Shadow Blight and Decay for Shadow Blight. So Sever, you know, Grief, kudos to you. This isn't a Sever build. It is very specifically a Shadow Blight build. Regular Shadow Blight did crack Pit Tier 100 though, because Sever is just kind of good enough, it turns out. So if we bump back down, do we have like a regular Sever here? Like a Sever? This looks like a Sever build. Nope, there's a Shadow Blight. What are you? Sever? Are you actually Sever? Shadow / sounds like Sever. Yeah. So Sever actually ends up clearing Pit Tier 100. Now, the thing that I didn't include in the calculations here, or no, I guess I kind of did. I was able to kind of include the calculations from how powerful the jewels were going to be, but not necessarily the impact that the actual Heraldric spells were going to have, because that was very difficult to conceptualize or to quantify. So I put Sever at tier 98 with the additional benefits of the effectiveness of the spells. It does Pit Tier 100. So on Sever, A+, 10 out of 10. We were like almost exactly on based off of how effective we were at calculating that. Blight we said would hit 96. Let's see if we can find a Blight build. It's going to be difficult to identify a Blight build because Blight, oddly enough, gets used on Shadow Blight a lot. But Blight should be down below 100. Does any of these say Blight? They do not. Okay. Blight. Bloodless Scream. Blight? Oh, that's terrible. This is a Bloodless Scream build. This isn't... What do we calculate that at? 96? I feel like I could go do a 96 on it right now. Maybe that's a little bit of copium.
Can I just do this? Blight, Necromancer, Season 9. Not Shadowblight. Oh, this is going to be impossible to find. Can you do this? Damn, from a year ago. Tier 87 plus on Bone Splinters. I don't actually have, does anybody have data on Blight? Which one is the real me? The only way you could get better if you create a spreadsheet to analyze your statistical accuracy of your predictions. Mac running calculations on themselves. This would truly be ultimate MacroBioBoi. Babitia, what up? Ever believe that the 15 inches stick bug they found in Australia wasn't discovered until now because of something like threatening stick bug voice? You've never seen me. What? Okay. 3, thank you very much for the follow. So here on Blight, I calculated it at pit tier 96. I think that's pretty accurate. I can't find an exact clear because everybody ended up just running Shadow Blight instead of Blight, because why would you when there was basically the exact same build gameplay loop? So sadly, we don't have a ton of great data on Blight, but I believe 95. I believe it can absolutely do 95, no question there. It just turns out that they added on Tyrant's Bane, and Tyrant's Bane sure says 4.3 times damage in a jewel slot. So that's pretty big. Infinimist Shadow Blight. Oh no. So there's a little bit of history for why I originally said Infinimist was going to get retrofit to be Shadow Blight here. So if you don't know the history of Infinimist, basically like the first really strong Necromancer build that the Necro was known for way back in the day, that one in Bone Sphere. Infinimist was a Shadow Blight build. It triggered Shadow Blight as fast as possible and stacked a bunch of crit chance with Grasping Veins and stuff like that. You actually used to put it onto a two-hander to get enough crit chance. That's how long ago we're talking about. And you would go into Blood Mist Forever, and you would just trigger a bunch of corpse explosions, and you would trigger Shadow Blight with it. And that's what I thought we were going to do with the build guide. And it just turns out that for this build, you need to be spamming at maximum APM, like 3 attacks per second. So you just really can't do that with the Infinimist package. You can do Infinimist. It's just very, very bad at this point. And you can still go infinite if you put Explosive Mist onto your amulet, but nobody cares about that. So we ended up just making a Shadow Blight build guide on Maxroll, and I actually archived Infinimist because at this point it doesn't really do anything. Now, that being said, I did show that Corpse Explosion can do pit tier 100, not Infinimist, but actually casting Corpse Explosion. So there's a good chance that we basically just make a Corpse Explosion build guide walking into the next season, depending on what kind of love it gets. But I originally put Infinimist at pit tier 103. If you assume any build that could do over pit tier 100 gains 4 pit tiers from the previous scaling, that bumps it up to 107. And it turns out it's actually even better than that. But what was the big turning point? What was the thing that actually got it over that hump? As far as what I was able to see, it was actually because of O's. Now, I assume that O's worked with a lot of other people in general, but basically the big discovery walking out of the PTR is that Shadow Blight didn't have to use the Ebon Piercer amulet. We thought that you would need to use Ebon Piercer to be able to generate enough corpses to actually be able to consume them fast enough to be able to make Shadow Blight really work. And it just turns out that you don't need it. You just don't. Even against a single target, as long as you're using all of your skills when they're off cooldown, you could generate enough corpses to be able to spam Corpse Explosion very effectively against a single target. And that means that you're able to put a regular amulet onto your build, regaining an aspect slot, gaining percentage intelligence, as well as 2 passives. Now again, Shadow Blight is currently being held back by the fact that the Gloom passive doesn't work for it. So as far as my estimation here, it ends up being like 3 or 4 pit tiers lower than what you would expect. So if you add on 4, so it actually ends up being about 5 pit tiers lower, you know? So we weren't able to see that, but there was just like 2 things coming against it. 1, we have this weird bug. 2, we don't have to use Ebon Piercer. And 3, the build is just absolutely cracked out of its cord. It's just very, very, very strong, and it feels so much better to pilot than what you would imagine. So I definitely undersold this one a little bit, and it would actually end up being our best build if there wasn't a bug in there right now. And a very similar story for Bloodwave. Bloodwave is currently, I had calculated it at pit tier 105. We add on 4 from it being able to clear above 100. So I would have calculated it at pit tier 109. Bloodwave at this point has done pit tier 113. So here I was 4 pit tiers off. Now, it kind of doesn't matter which version of Bloodwave that you're running. You can do dot Bloodwave, or you could just do Overpower Bloodwave. Overpower Bloodwave is doing 112. Dot version of it is doing 113. Were there any like really big contributing factors here? There's 2 things. 1, the benefits of the Heraldric spells. It's a little bit difficult to like really overstate just how valuable they are, and being able to manage your lucky hit chance cooldown against a single target. Disintegrate is just goated for this. Oh, and I just remembered one other thing for Shadow Blight and what helped to bump Shadow Blight up even higher. They started using Aldkin. Aldkin, when he's in his shadow form, the mercenary, actually does a ton of instances of shadow damage and offers you a better damage multiplier uptime than Rahir does. So that was another thing that helped to push it over. That was not something that I assumed at all, and I had to learn that from O's. I just wanted to touch on that very quickly. But back to the Shadow Bloodwave, it turns out the dot ends up being stronger, and it's mostly because Tyrant's Bane exists. And not only that, this continues to gain the benefits of all the damage multipliers. Because Bloodwave becomes a darkness skill, it gets to benefit from Gloom, whereas other builds right now just can't benefit from Gloom in a lot of different ways, which is kind of silly. And yeah, it ends up being very slightly stronger than I thought it was, because the dot version ends up being stronger than what I would have originally imagined. Lord Sara jumped on doing the dot version of this pretty early on, so that's what's probably attributing the most to the couple pit tiers that I was off there. But this is very cool. It's nice that we have a dot build that's, you know, able to actually scale up to this level, even if it does have to come on the back of Bloodwave. Pause. All right, resume. On the nitty-gritty details, welcome to part 2, where I explain too much math. So walking out of the post PTR, we have a lot of different. Let's go back for a quick second. Overpower Bone Storm ends up being a trash build, but you kind of just don't have to do Overpower Bone Storm. You just kind of run regular Bone Storm. You just don't need to waste the aspect slot and deal with that. You just put on a bunch of damage multipliers. It does above pit tier 75. Because you just stack on all the multipliers. They made it so that the key passive is stronger. They made it so that the Bone Graft port is stronger. It's still not a very good build, because so often the vast majority of your damage is kind of spread out because the lucky hit chances trigger on random monsters. But it's an okay build, and you can use it for speed farming, like the speed farm build that I just put up. And it's surprisingly better than what I thought it was. But this was such a wild thing to try to calculate, because we were dealing with like the double layered overpower nerfs, and just really trying to answer the question, like, what does overpower even really mean anymore? And it turns out, unless you build naturally overpowers, you really don't care about using it at all. Bone Spirit is another one. Bone Spirit, it was kind of difficult to really calculate just how impactful this was going to be. It has a couple bugs going against it, which is that Bone Spirit, even using Decaying Humorous, can't benefit from the Gloom passive, because it doesn't work for anything that isn't a darkness skill, even if you're doing shadow damage. So that's just a bug that's been reported to the devs. But Bone Spirit did get hit a lot. It ends up doing somewhere around like 95. If you're doing the Shattered Spirit version of it, which is, building into all of the basic skill damage multipliers and double Bone Splinters, that's doing 104. But plain Bone Spirit, let's go ahead and try to figure out where plain Bone Spirit is. Not a lot of people are running Bone Spirit, because it's a really difficult to gear build that ends up just kind of like not really doing anything. Hungry Raz Spirit. All right, let's see what Hungry Raz Spirit is. Bone Spirit ends up doing pit tier 100. All right, yeah, we can vibe with that. Shadow Bone Spirit, Tragic Gloom isn't working for this, yeah. So this ends up, Bone Spirit ends up doing pit tier 100. So I was a little bit overzealous with the calculation of the nerfs to Bone Spirit. And ends up being able to do pit tier 100. Well, even so let's add up. We add up the four ranks, that brings up to 95. We end up just building a little bit more into the multipliers that are now available. They get you like 96, 97. So I was basically off by like 3 or 4 pit tiers here. Bone Spear. Again, we did Bone Spear Mages. That ran pit tier 100. Regular Bone Spear is somewhere in the range of like pit tier 90 if you just build into crit. And again, you can hard force Blood Bone Spear. It's such an unfun way of playing the build, but you can do it. So this is actually very, very close to what the expected is. So if we were to try to find, I wonder if anybody has really run Bone Spear that we could find a clear on. Crazy Mage, they also did mages. Yeah, so I think if you were to build into just pure Bone Spear and actually put the Overpower package back onto it, you'd end up doing like pit tier 95 or so. So I was actually a little bit kind here, with the major issue being that we just couldn't really figure out whether or not the build would even function and what you would legitimately do with it. So I was actually pretty spot on with this, but that was a little bit of a shot in the dark. Minions. Minions has been on a real wild journey this season. The long and short of Minions, if you didn't follow along with it, is basically they are considered a darkness skill, which is not how that's supposed to work, but it appears to be the intended functionality. I've tried to reach out to the devs to figure out whether or not other minions are going to be getting skill tags. But as far as I can tell, Shadow Mages are meant to be a darkness skill. That means that they do engage with Gloom. And a lot of people are having a lot better success on mages using Mage Cast Twice and building into shadow damage, which shouldn't make mathematical sense because Mendeln represents like 70% of the build's damage. But it turns out that minions are currently bugged right now. I know, shocker. And they are double dipping on the Reaper sacrifice. They're double dipping. Well, they're not really double dipping. Sorry. They get 2. It's not really double dipping. It is that when you use the Reaper sacrifice, they get the damage multiplier twice. They get double the value of summoning damage as opposed to the skeleton mage damage. So you're able to temper on summoning damage and get more out of it than you typically would. But that doesn't work for Ring of Mendeln. None of these things work for Ring Mendeln, the thing that I'm about to say. And the Abyssal Glyph, which increases your elemental damage, also applies to them twice. So once you add all of that together, the minions' damage represents the majority of the damage that the build is doing. And if that is true, you can actually drop Ring of Mendeln, put on a 50% damage multiplier, and then build purely into shadow damage, and they attack twice, and basically get better average DPS. I know, that was a mouthful. But that's why you need to understand why my calculation here, even though my calculation is off, it's only off by 3 pit tiers, but that's why you need to understand about it. So all of that being said and told, the Shadow Mages end up not running Mendeln anymore, which is the craziest thing on the planet. They get to build fully into elemental damage, and it's just a lot better for speed farming. It's a lot better just for area clear because you're not waiting on the Mendeln procs. They eventually fixed at least one of the bugs in the Mendeln ring on the minions. So the thing that they fixed was that the mage minions weren't giving you 3% damage multiplier per mage minion. They were only giving it to you for the first 3, unless you resummoned them and only gave it to you for 5. So you're missing out on 35% damage there. What it ends up meaning is that once they fix that, Mendeln and the non-Mendeln version can now clear the same pit tier 109, with the non-Mendeln version continuing to be just like a easier to play build, an easier to guide build, one that I have a lot more fun with and requires, you know, less powerful uniques to get off the ground, which is really, really nice. So if we add on the 4 pit tiers here, that gets us up to 106. I could never have known that these bugs were going to exist. That's what gets you up to 109. And the build ends up being, I think, by far my most fun build this season. I loved bossing on it. I loved speed farming on it. You can swap over a couple things to be able to speed farm on it better. I loved running in the pits with it because them teleporting around you did make them a little bit easier to kind of manage. You still run into the same things where like suppressor field sucks, being permanently crowd controlled sucks. All that's being dealt with this season by the seasonal power. If those things go away, I don't know what we're going to do, but you know, whatever. That's just minion issues. But yeah, so I was pretty close to being able to calculate this one. I was about 3 pit tiers off, but that's mostly because of bugs that we couldn't foresee. So I'm going to take that one as an A+. I didn't rate all of mine, but I'll take that one as an A+, estimation of what the build was going to do. And we're going to talk about Blood Surge and Bloodlance simultaneously. Blood Surge and Bloodlance are just as bad as I think they were going to be, but for you to get a better understanding of why Blood Surge and Bloodlance are so bad, you need to understand how the overpower nerfs really affected our characters. So the long and short was, if you got up to around 20 or 30,000 maximum life on an overpower build, you were getting like 100 times your damage in free additive damage. That's why everybody built overpower. That's why overpower was on every single build. So they took that away, which meant that builds that could naturally overpower were getting higher additive damage values on their tempers, higher multipliers available in their paragon and in their skills. And if you could naturally overpower, it's still very powerful. But if you can't naturally overpower, there's no real reason to explore it, which I like. I like not having to shoehorn overpower into every build. Blood Surge and Bloodlance are naturally overpowering skills that do not overpower 100% of the time. Blood Surge overpowers every 5 casts once you have gone through a cycle. Bloodlance overpowers once every 6 casts once you've gone through a cycle. You can pick up blood orbs to make them overpower more often, but the moment that you're fighting a single target, that's not really part of the calculation. That just doesn't really do anything. So what that all means together is that Blood Surge and Bloodlance got royally effed because they lost all of their additive damage and they're not great at overpowering. So they're bad at doing non-overpower damage and they don't overpower a lot. And they weren't compensated at all. They were not buffed to offset this issue. And they're just trash builds this season. Nobody is playing them. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a single submitted run on either of these. Yep, nope, no Blood Surge runs and no Lance runs. I actually recorded a video where I played Blood Surge to get a better understanding of how the build felt. And I had like insane gear. I had 4 GA Cruor's Embrace. I had 3 mythics. I had a double passive amulet with intelligence on it. I had insane weapons. Everything was masterwork properly. And it's just bad. It was just bad. Like, I couldn't clear a pit tier like 85, or maybe we got through 85 and I got to the boss and didn't do damage. It was that bad. Like, I didn't even put out the video because all I was going to say is don't play these builds. So I was spot on with the calculations, but it's even weaker than I thought. So if we don't give them the bump up, these are pretty accurate to what they can do on like literal 4 GA perfect triple masterwork crit gear. And that's how bad they are. Can you take them into the open world? Sure, you can. You can take anything into the open world. You can stand still and just, swing the basic skill around and kill stuff in the open world. Being able to kill stuff in the open world is not a mark of value for builds, really. But yeah, no, Blood Surge, Bloodlance, I was spot on. They were going to be our worst performing builds. They were by a country mile. And I'm just desperately hoping that they're going to get anything walking into the next season because they're really, really bad. Army of the Dead. Let's go look at it. Is anybody using Army of the Dead? Army of the Dead. Okay, well, hold on. Is anybody doing an Army of the Dead build, not minions, but using Army of the Dead? I know that sounds silly, but it's my shadow minion build. Okay, we're not doing shadow minions. What about this one? Is this an Army of the Dead? This is Archmage. Did anybody do it? Oh, Akia did it. What did Akia do? Pure Archmage, not Archmage. I'm just going to open up all these and we're going to see if anybody did an Army of the Dead build. This is mages. My Spanish is very bad, but this looks like a mages build. All right, this is a mages build. Nigromante Fosso. It's a mages build. It's a mages build. It's a mage's build. Okay. So why am I being such a stickler for Army of the Dead? Army of the Dead, the best version of Army of the Dead, sacrifices all of its minions because you want the sacrifice bonuses from them rather than running them, which sounds funny, but it's true. The big thing with Army of the Dead was walking out of Season 8, before they capped the multipliers on skills, Army of the Dead had a 121 times damage multiplier. And with that, it was able to run Pit Tier 40 in a season where other builds were running Pit Tier 150. Keep that in mind. They capped it. They went from a 121 times multiplier down to a 3 times multiplier. And oddly enough, 3 is less than 3% of 121. So they basically chopped it down to doing like 2% of its previous damage. That was after them literally making an air-marked unique weapon for it called Sanguivore, Blade of Zir, the weapon that haunts me every single day because everybody wants to know, is it good for minions? And it's not. It's only good for Army of the Dead, and Army of the Dead is a terrible build. So nobody ran Army of the Dead. Would it run this pit tier? I don't know. You could probably hard force it up to like pit tier 80, which if you take the 74 and you add on 4, gets you up to 78, and then you include the benefits of the Heraldric Gems and put you around 80. So my best guess is that this estimation was pretty close to what Army of the Dead would be doing in this season. And they just killed this build. They propped it up and they killed it. Similar to Soul Rift. They made a whole Soul Rift build. They made an entire Unmaker unique helmet. People did anything with it at all. That apparently was not allowed. And they nerfed it into the ground. And now you don't run Soul Rift with Unmaker and you don't run Army of the Dead. It begs a question. I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but it begs a question. But at least our estimation was near accurate. And then Affliction. Affliction, actually like almost dead on with kind of where I thought it was going to end up after you do the math of it all. You know, Affliction can speed farm pit tier 55 in a minute. It could probably do 75. It could probably get all the way up to 75 before it starts to feel really bad. It just doesn't have enough damage scaling. It doesn't have aspects. It doesn't have a unique on it, but it does do that. It does do that number. So that's another A+, 10 out of 10 estimation of kind of where we thought that would go. Now, here's a really good question. And we could listen to me rant on and on. Oh, actually, you know what? That's very funny. We could talk about that one real quick. Oh, am I ever going to find it ever again? Yeah, this one, Necrotic Fortitude. This is devilry and witchcraft. They bumped up the lucky hit chance for Necrotic Fortitude to generate barrier for you. It just turns out the Necromancer feels fine. You are not as tanky as you used to be, but you will survive most content as long as you have armor and res capped and at least 12,000 maximum life, and you're able to generate barrier through lucky hit chance. So this actually, like this one change right here, people aren't going to be able to recognize it. But this like saved the season for the Necromancer, I'm positive. Because without this, we would be dying left and right. And with this, we're not dying that bad. Also, the changes to Soul Rift, completely warranted. Soul Rift was way too powerful, and you still use it on the majority of builds. So it's, you know, still smothering. It's still smothering the meta, even though it no longer generates barrier and only gives a 15% damage multiplier. You know. It's still the best ultimate, unless you're playing Bloodwave, which is kind of funny. But like, yeah, what can you do? What can you do? There's only so much that they can nerf a thing. But let's talk about things that I didn't originally really think about, like would come out of this, like would be a thing. Are there any builds like that? Are there? Shattered Spirit's a thing. Basic skills are bad. Were there any builds we like didn't think of? Dot Bloodwave, Bone Mages. Yeah, I know. Oh, I guess I should do a little bit of an intro. I realized. We're going to try something a little bit different for a video because we're now at the end of the month, right? I have played everything. One of my chat members said, this is probably a good sign that you should start playing a different ARPG when you're asking whether or not we should try to do an Iron Maiden build. But at this point, I've tried every single build that I wanted to in the season. And something that we never really do is we never really reflect on how accurately was I able to actually review the changes walking into the season and predict the things that were going to happen. If you've never met this dude before, this is Trump SC. Trump SC is honestly, it's like one of my streaming heroes, one of my content creator heroes. If you didn't know, a way long time ago, like back in 2015, I tried to make Hearthstone content, but I watched Trump religiously. And not only that, I actually got to meet him at BlizzCon. He's a really, really nice guy. Maybe he'll remember me the next time that we're at BlizzCon and we can hang out at one of the hotel after parties. Trump, if you're seeing this, man, it was awesome meeting you. And I promise I'm not trying to be weird and parasocial. But something that I really liked that Trump would do was he would review a new set in Hearthstone. And then he would come back and review his review. He would talk about how the meta had shifted. He would talk about whether or not he was spot on. It would give him a better understanding of how to evaluate cards moving forward. And I realized we can do that too. I reviewed not only the changes walking into the PTR, but the changes walking out of the PTR. And on top of all of that, I generated, a data set. And that data set gave us an understanding of what my key takeaways were, what builds I thought were going to be like big performing builds. And then on top of that, we did all this math and I calculated what pit tier I thought all your favorite builds were going to do. So I figured we can do this exact same thing as if we are Trump SC. We could just bite his whole steez. We could just try to do the same thing. So this is MacroBioBoi reviews MacroBioBoi's analysis of Season 9 post-PTR, or rather the pre-Season 9 patch rollout. What were the new builds? What were the things that we were going to need to try? What were my key takeaways? Did I get it right? Did I calculate the pit tiers properly? Did the season go the way that I thought it would for this class that at this point I have over 4,000 hours on and it's the only class I ever play? If you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and stick around because it actually was like, everybody's going to say it's the beginning of a video, but it was kind of surprising, some of these outcomes. And it was really interesting to try to look back and understand when things were different, when things were spot on, and whether or not the insights I was able to share were valuable to the player base. Like, were people able to walk away from this video and have a better understanding of what they should expect walking into the season? I'm not going to force you to listen to previous me yap. I'm going to be doing all the yapping. So I'm just going to cut out all the dead air whenever we were kind of looking into stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoy this one. It was pretty cool. So there we go. That was MacroBioBoi reviews, MacroBioBoi's analysis of Season 9. There were definitely some outliers, right? There were just some things we couldn't really calculate because they didn't give us the numbers walking out of the PTR. They just gave us the understanding of what they were going to implement. The pit tier scaling was a little bit different. How impactful overpower changes was a little bit nebulous. Bone Spear just got completely cracked. Multiple mage minion builds ended up coming out. We were able to do a golem build. Basic skill builds were kind of just as bad as I thought they were going to be, except for Bone Splinters, which is fine on Shattered Spirit, but kind of bad as just a regular basic skill. We were able to get the majority of our pit tier scaling, actually pretty close when you add in the additional ranks from just how much easier it is to get through pit tier 100. And I think that we can at least show here, if I were to grade myself, if I were to give myself a grade for how well I was able to calculate these things, I put it somewhere around a B+. There was definitely a couple things I just didn't know. So I'm not going to hold myself accountable for those ones, but I'd say about a B+. I think we could do a little bit better if I'm just a bit more strict with like exactly how I'm willing to calculate these things. But I guess you can let me know, right? This is enough of me talking about myself. I want to hear from you. If you made it this far, consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Leave a like on the video as well. But let me know down in the comments what you were the most upset about, what you were the most excited about. Do you think I was being fair? Maybe I gave myself a little bit too much credit. And did you personally have a different experience with any of these builds? And maybe it's not represented either at helltides.com or what my calculation was or what my personal experience with the builds were. I'd love to hear from you. But that's enough of me talking. I've run myself hoarse. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I truly hope that it helped. And I look forward to seeing you in the next Mac reviews, the next future Mac reviews. Oh boy. Is this a series now? Hopefully. Because it just, I mean, like, it gives me something to do at the end of the season. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Mac reviews. Max review season 9. A good retrospective, yeah. And also, we're like pretty close. I mean, like, you know, not to sit in front of a bunch of people who are probably already predisposed to want to agree with me or like me. I think we did a pretty good job of calculating stuff. Like Bone Storm, I undercalculated that one a bit, but it's just because, and that's also like nobody's running it. I went out and played it, and it's like fine. So I think it was like accurate to be like, hey, this isn't going to be an amazing build. Bone Spirit definitely undercalculated that one. That one continued to kind of output a bit higher than I expected it to. Undercalculated minions a little bit, but again, that's a bug. Can't really account for that. Also, the takeaway with minions is also really good because up until this season, and even in this season, if there are no bugs, it is still correct to say Mendeln is the vast majority of your build, so everything you add to the build should seek to scale both of them instead of just one. That's true. That is very true. But going through and actually doing the calculations, like actually going through, like once it was percolating up from Kirk that there was a bug, and that's why people were feeling better on it. Like people just kept saying anecdotally, I'm feeling better doing Mage's Attack twice. And then, you know, they come to me for an answer and I'm like, well, that's mathematically impossible. So I think that's just your experience, which is like so still accurate and true. Some people just didn't like that it was accurate and true. Regardless, that doesn't matter. But sitting down and doing the math and being able to quantify why this was happening and what it meant that this was happening led to literally a completely different build existing, right? Like a non-Mendeln minion build is something that hasn't existed since season 1, you know, like since Mendeln was added to the game. Don Mac, thank you very much for the 3 months, Boo Boo. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Is Bug Necro saved on hardcore? I would never use a bug build on hardcore ever, basically. Was that the ASMR brushing your ear video? Yes, I watch a lot of GB ASMR. I'm like big into ASMR. It keeps my brain from making noises. But what was I talking about? But doing the math helped to not only discover a new build, but also to quantify how impactful the difference between minions and the ring is. So in the future, when we're exploring these builds, you know, it kind of sucks. It sucks for people like me because we always have to ask the question, is this now enough to be able to scale the elemental version of it harder to not have to use Mendeln? And often the answer is going to be no, but sometimes the answer might be yes. And in the instances where the answer is yes, then you have to explore the alternatives. And I think it's always good to have instances that force you to question the going hypothesis so as to not assume that it is a theory or a law. I think that's really good. That was like personally good insight for me. And to all the people who are like, man, the math doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is in game. Even in game, it wasn't true. Get fucked. But once I changed the build, it was then true, which is pretty cool. What else? What else do we have to gain from? I was pretty spot on with Affliction. I kind of wish I wasn't. I wish Affliction was better. I also wish I was wrong about Blood Surge and Blood Lance, but they're just bad. They're just bad builds. Oh, that was one thing. Corpse Explosion as like a legitimate build. It was kind of an unexpected reality. But that's only because of fucking Tyrant's Bane, though. Well, is it only because of Tyrant's Bane? Hold on. So without Tyrant's Bane, it drops down to pit tier 91. That's still, I mean, if Blood Surge and Blood Lance are legit builds, that's still a legit build. Okay. All right. That's good to know. That's good to know. Anything else? Yeah, Corpse Explosion. Corpse Explosion is the only... I could have included Corpse Explosion talking about it in the video, but I kind of forgot. I'm not going to record another part. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's a little bit early. A little bit early, but I don't really have anything else to cover in Diablo 4. What else do I do in Diablo 4? Nothing? Just legitimately nothing? I did everything. Like, I'm not going to go play Bloodlance. Blood Surge already showed me just how bad blood is. Play Druid. Druid is a very highly requested class. Replay. I love the statement replay Titan's Quest 1 as if I have any idea what Titan's Quest is. I love that so much, Grim. I literally don't know what Titan's Quest is. The Goblin event is very fun. Is the new... Oh, is 0.3 at the end of the month? Oh, yeah, it is. It's like the 29th, right? Yeah, because I'm expecting to be moved into the new house by then. Damn, it's already August? That's crazy. Yeah, so on Monday, when we come back, because I'm also going away for a week. Starting on the 11th. I'm not going to be able to stream. So we basically have like next week to kind of fuck around. I might finish the Amazon Hell speedrun or the Hell challenge run I was doing in Diablo 2. We might fuck around. I might play a Druid. I don't want to farm uniques for a Druid. The amount I don't want to do that is actually so palpable, it's insane. Like, that's something I needed to do in, like, week 3 when people were, like, still playing the game. Someone said to me recently, continuing to play the game a month into this season is already an achievement enough, and I'm like, you're actually not wrong. I can't tell you the last time I, like, continued to well, I mean, like, the first couple seasons. Because I would play every build and put out a build guide on every build. This season I did play every build, but I didn't put out a build guide on every build. The only build I didn't play was Bloodlance. Oh, I didn't play Bone Spirit. I didn't play Bone Spirit. I didn't play Bloodlance. And I didn't play Army of the Dead, but that's not a build. I appreciate that, Grim. Hola, Supremo. Bad timing. I'm about to end stream. Yeah, let's end stream. We're gonna call it early on Friday. When we come back, I'm gonna try to finish my Amazon challenge run. So if you don't know, in Diablo 2 Resurrected, and I do have this on paper, I did do this before Zarf and the Loot Goblin. I've actually done this like 4 or 5 times. But in D2R, I'm playing an Amazon where I can only equip gear that I have personally made in the Herodric Cube, and that includes putting runes and items. We are all the way up to, I think it's Act 5. It's either Act 4 or Act 5. I can actually go see. Hold on. Did you see my question about Shadowfall's death? I did not, Cap. What was the question? You got the lurk earlier? Thank you. I actually played this a little bit off stream while I was dealing with my grandmother. For that week where I just didn't stream. I enjoy playing the game of Diablo 4. I have played 9 builds. So what do you do after that? Don't connect to Battle.net. So this is my Amazon. She's level 75. Any way to use the Catalyst Infusion that makes you invisible to do damage with the Shroud affix? Not really. Can you do it? Sure. Does gaining 500 additive damage matter? Not really. It just doesn't matter. It's just more valuable to do other things, basically. The first time I load D2R, it takes roughly 4,000 years. D4 Academy coming back? It is. I actually want to do... I had a thing I wanted to do for my next one. I forget what it was now. But here is my character. I made all of this stuff in the Herodric Cube. Every single piece of gear. I got my... crafted Maiden Javelin. I upgraded Blood Fist. I crafted these rings for res. I upgraded an Arctic Binding to a Sharkskin Belt. I upgraded this hard leather armor. And then I crafted a Ral and I crafted an Ort and I put them into the sockets. Yo, what up, Sayo? Did the same for this bone helm up into a Grim Helm. And then crafted 2 Ort runes for it. I crafted this prismatic amulet of the whale, absolutely nutty. I crafted this kite shield, socketed it, then crafted the runes for Ancient's Pledge and put them in. And I upgraded my Hasaris Iron Heel to mesh boots. Also, my mercenary, I made this magic giant thresher with sockets. And then I crafted a Hell Rune and an Am Rune for him, so he's got Life Leech, and he can actually equip it. I upgraded Gold Skin into Chaos Armor, so he could get 35 all res. And I crafted him this this Deadly Strike helmet. It only hit 1% Life Leech, though. And then I also I upgraded... What did I do with this? Oh, I had picked this up and I was going to craft on it later. That's what it was. But I have a bunch of other stuff that I want to try to upgrade. Like I want to try to upgrade Bill. Because Juanen's Justice is absolutely insane on your Merc. 40% IAS and 200% ED. I also rolled this circlet. So it does have 15 all-res and telekinesis charges, which I think is like kind of insane. I rolled that with skulls. Also, I rolled this martial arts lifer, which is very funny. These are all the things I haven't actually crafted on yet. Oh, I did make these. I'm just never going to use them. Also, this was my previous Merc weapon. Thresher with MF on it. Pretty good. Also dropped Triangul set, which is pretty insane if I could ever upgrade them, because then I could use that for better damage on Plague Javelin. But yeah, so we're in Act 5 Hell. And I basically just need to finish the run, which means I just need to kill the Ancients. I have about 1,300 life. My res is pretty good. I'm near capped on everything. But yeah, so we're gonna return to this. I'll start that on Monday. But Teo, thank you very much for the raid, my friend. Welcome on in. Shout outs to my boy Teo. Normally he says something when he raids me, but apparently not this time. But shout outs to my boy Teo. Go give him some love. He's doing a hardcore grail in his downtime. But yeah, let's go ahead and end stream. Let's find somebody to raid. Y'all showed up at the wrong time. Titan Quest. I'm a bunch of people excited for Titan Quest. Oh, that's why nobody is here, because people are watching Titan Quest. Yeah, we'll go raid Vudijo. Go give Vudi some love. But yeah, thank y'all for hanging out. I appreciate y'all. Oh damn, you're actually like already able to play. Oh yeah, like Shadow dropped, right? Damn, I wish I like had the energy or cared to like already be playing an ARPG I didn't know, but I'm just tired. Maybe we'll check out Titan's Quest too. Go Tijo. All right, y'all. As always, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, arrivederci, sayonara, so long, ciao, cap, kun, krap, sawadi, gute Nacht, hasta luego. Tienes un buen fin de semana. I love y'all very much. The bourgeoisie doesn't care about us. The politicians don't care about us. The billionaires don't care about us. It's the working class that needs to work together to make sure that we're properly protecting ourselves and fighting for our rights and looking out for people in our community. Community is by far the most important thing that humanity has ever done. So even if you don't necessarily agree with everybody around you, maybe you have different walks of life, try to be a little bit patient, try to have a little bit of empathy, try to have a little bit of sympathy, and just, you know, hear them out. Unless they're fucking boot-licking fascists, in which case kick them to the curb. Protect your peace. Y'all have a great weekend. I'll see you all again on Monday. Cheers.